The crystal beings of Zephyria had never known fear like this. Their beautiful world, made of singing stones and floating gardens, was dying. Black ships filled the sky, eating everything they touched. The machines came like hungry insects, taking apart their cities piece by piece. Ambassador Veltar stood in the emergency council chamber. His crystal body rang with sad music as he watched the reports come in. 7 worlds had fallen already. The machines called themselves the Harvester Swarm, and they turned everything into more machines. "We cannot fight them," said Council Leader Himnara. Her voice was like breaking glass. "Our weapons do nothing. They learn from every attack and become stronger." The other council members sang their agreement in low, worried tones. The Zephyrians had never made weapons to hurt people. They did not understand war. Their tools were for building, for growing things, for making music with the stars. "What about the other peaceful races?" asked Veltar. "The gentle winds of Altair? The flower ships of the Rose Nebula?" "All gone," Himnara replied. "The machines ate their worlds too. We are alone." Veltar moved to the great viewing crystal that showed the galaxy. So many red dots marked where worlds had died. But there, in a small corner of space, was a yellow dot, marked with warning symbols. The database called it Sol 3, home to something called humans. "There is one option," Veltar said quietly, "the Death World." The council chamber fell silent. Every crystal being knew about Sol 3. It was marked in all the galactic records as forbidden. The creatures there were called Deathworlders, beings who came from a planet so dangerous that it made killers of everything that lived on it. "You cannot be serious," whispered Himnara. "Those creatures are monsters. The database says they fight wars for fun. They kill their own kind for resources. They turned their entire planet into a weapon factory. And they are still alive," Veltar pointed out. "Their world tried to kill them for millions of years, but they won. If anyone can fight the machines, it is them." The council sang a song of worry and fear. They had heard stories about humans, how they covered their planet in cities of metal, how they split atoms for power, how they traveled between worlds in ships built for war. The peaceful races stayed away from Sol 3 because humans were too dangerous to trust. "We could die trying to contact them," said another council member. "They might decide we are enemies and attack us first. We will die anyway if we do nothing," Veltar replied. "The machines will be here in 3 days. Our evacuation ships are too slow. Most of our people cannot escape in time." The crystal beings looked at their beautiful world through the viewing chamber. Children played in gardens of light while their parents worked to build evacuation pods. Nobody wanted to tell them that there were not enough ships for everyone. "I will send the message," Veltar decided. "If the humans refuse to help, we are no worse off than before. If they say yes..." He could not finish the thought. The idea of asking killers to save them felt wrong in every way. Himnara rang a note of agreement. "Do it, but be careful how you ask. These Deathworlders might want payment we cannot afford to give." Veltar moved to the communication array. His crystal fingers touched the controls with shaking movements. He had never sent a message to a Deathworld before. The stories said humans could smell fear across space. He began to record. "To the warriors of the world called Earth, from the Zephyrian Coalition. We are dying. Machines from beyond the rim are eating our worlds. We who have never known war are asking those who were born from violence to save us." The words felt strange in his mouth. Crystal beings did not talk about violence or war. They had no words for many of the concepts humans used every day. "We offer everything we have," he continued. "Our technologies, our crystals that sing with star music, our knowledge of how to grow gardens in space. We know you are dangerous. We know you are killers, but you are our only hope." He paused, thinking of his children safe in the evacuation centers, or safe for now. Our children are hiding in the deep caves. Our elders sing songs of ending times. If you have any mercy in your killer hearts, please come. The machines will reach us in 3 days. We do not know how to fight. We need someone who does. The message was ready. Veltar looked at it for a long moment. Sending this would change everything. If humans came to their world, nothing would ever be the same. But if they did not send it, soon there would be no world left at all. Send it on all frequencies, he told the communication officer. Let every human ship in space hear us calling for help. The message flew out into the dark, racing toward the yellow star called Sol. Veltar could only hope that somewhere in that dangerous system, someone would care enough about strangers to cross the galaxy and fight for them. The crystal beings waited and prayed to their star gods that the monsters they were calling would be their salvation and not their doom. Time was running out, and the machines were coming closer every hour. Soon they would know if Deathworlders could be heroes too. Admiral Sarah Chen was drinking coffee when the alien message came through. She almost choked on her drink when the translation program finished working. Her bridge crew stopped what they were doing and stared at their screens. "Ma'am, this is real," said Communications Officer Martinez. "Some crystal aliens are asking for military help against something called the Harvester Swarm." Sarah put down her coffee cup and read the message again. The words were simple but desperate. These aliens had never fought a war before. They were asking the most dangerous species in the galaxy to save them. "What do we know about these Zephyrians?" she asked. Lieutenant Commander Jackson pulled up the files. "Peaceful traders, ma'am. They grow crystal cities and make beautiful music. Never built a weapon in their entire history. Their ships don't even have shields, just engines and cargo holds. And this Harvester Swarm? Unknown contact, ma'am. But if these aliens are this scared..." Jackson looked worried. "The message mentions 17 dead worlds already." Sarah stood up and walked to the viewing window. Outside, she could see the rest of the human defense fleet. Hundreds of ships hung in space around Earth. Each one built for war. Humanity had learned long ago that the galaxy was not a safe place. "Get me a link to Fleet Command," she ordered. "Priority Alpha." Within minutes, Admiral Chen was talking to the other fleet commanders spread across human space. Their faces filled her screen. Hard men and women who had fought in the Martian wars and the Belt conflicts. "You all got the alien message?" Sarah asked. "Yeah," said Admiral Rodriguez from the Mars fleet. "Poor bastards sound terrified. What's our move?" Admiral Kim from the Jupiter station spoke up. "Are we sure this isn't a trap? Aliens begging for help? Trying to lure our fleet away from Earth?" "Could be," Sarah agreed. "But look at the data they sent. 17 worlds gone in 2 months. That's not normal raiding. That's systematic extermination." The admirals studied the information together. The Harvester Swarm moved like nothing they had seen before. It did not conquer worlds. It ate them completely, and used the materials to build more ships. "If this thing is real," said Admiral Thompson from the outer colonies, "and if it's heading toward human space after it finishes with the Crystal people, then we fight it there instead of here," Sarah finished. "Better to stop a threat before it reaches Earth." But that was not the only reason, and everyone knew it. The alien message was so innocent, so hopeful. These beings had never hurt anyone, and now they were dying because they could not fight back. "How many ships can we move?" Sarah asked. The numbers came back quickly. Humanity had built a massive military over the centuries of fighting for survival. Between all the fleets, they could move over 3,000 ships without leaving Earth undefended. "That's overkill for most problems," Admiral Rodriguez pointed out. "Good," Sarah replied. "I'd rather bring too much firepower than too little. These aliens are counting on us." The fleet commanders began planning the deployment. Ships would gather from across human space. Marine battalions would prepare for boarding actions. The factory worlds would send supply ships loaded with ammunition and repair parts. What about payment? Asked Admiral Kim. The aliens offered their technology. But do we want it? Sarah thought about that. Human technology was built for war and survival. These crystal aliens probably had amazing tools for building and creating. But humanity needed weapons, more than art. We'll figure out payment later, she decided. Right now, people are dying and asking for help. That's enough reason to go. The orders went out across human space. Within hours, ships began moving toward the rally point near Pluto. The sight was impressive, even to humans who saw military fleets every day. Battleships the size of cities, carrying enough firepower to crack planets, cruisers that moved like dancers but hit like hammers, destroyers built for speed and killing, and the Marines. 50,000 of humanity's best fighters, trained from childhood to fight in every environment, from space stations to planet surfaces. Each one carried enough weapons to outfit a small army from the old Earth days. Sarah stood on her bridge and watched the fleet gather. The aliens had asked for warriors from a death world. They were about to get exactly that. "Ma'am," said Martinez from the communication station, "should we send a reply to the aliens?" Sarah thought about what to say. How do you tell innocent people that monsters are coming to save them? How do you warn them that human help comes with violence they cannot imagine? "Send this message," she said. "To Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Coalition. We received your call for help. The human defense fleet is coming. Hold your positions and keep your people safe. We will handle the machines." The message was short and simple. Sarah did not mention the size of the fleet or the weapons they carried. She did not explain human tactics or strategy. The aliens would learn soon enough what Deathworlders looked like when they went to war. "Fleet status report," she called out. "All ships ready for hyperspace jump," came the reply. "Course plotted for Zephyrian space. Estimated travel time, 18 hours. Sarah nodded. The aliens said the machines would reach them in 3 days. Humanity would arrive with time to spare. All ships. "This is Admiral Chen. We are going to help people who cannot help themselves. We are going to fight an enemy that eats worlds. We are going to show the galaxy why you don't mess with a Deathworlder's friends." The fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving Earth behind. 3,000 ships full of angry humans, racing across the galaxy to fight monsters. The crystal aliens had asked for help. They were about to learn what that looked like when it came from a world that bred warriors. The human fleet arrived like a thunderstorm in space. One moment, the Zephyrian system was empty, except for fleeing alien ships. The next moment, 3,000 human warships filled the darkness with their hulls and weapons. Ambassador Veltar watched from his command ship as the humans came out of hyperspace. His crystal body rang with shock and fear. The alien database had called humans dangerous, but seeing them was different. Their ships looked like they were built from anger and metal. "By the singing stars," whispered his aide, Chimaara. "How many of them are there?" "More than we have people on some of our worlds," Veltar replied, trying to keep his voice calm. Each human ship was bigger than the largest Zephyrian city. And there were thousands of them. A message came through on the communication system. The voice was clear and strong, speaking words that the crystal beings had never heard used together before. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. We are here to eliminate the Harvester threat. Zephyrian vessels, please maintain safe distance while we establish combat positions." Combat positions. The humans were already thinking about fighting, even though the machines were still hours away. Veltar had never heard anyone talk about death so calmly. "Admiral Chen," he managed to say. "This is Ambassador Veltar. We are grateful you came, but the machines are very dangerous. They have weapons that can break apart planets." There was a pause. Then the human admiral replied in a tone that sounded almost amused. "Ambassador, we brought enough firepower to break apart star systems. I think we'll manage. Veltar felt his crystal structure shiver. These humans talked about destroying stars, like his people talked about gardening. I would like to come aboard your ship, he said carefully, to coordinate our peoples and share information about the enemy. Copy that, Ambassador. Sending coordinates for Docking Bay 7. Fair warning. Our ship is built for war, not comfort. Try not to touch anything that glows red. Minutes later, Veltar found himself inside a human warship for the first time. Everything was wrong. The walls were made of metal instead of singing crystal. The air smelled of oil and electricity instead of flowers. And everywhere he looked, there were weapons. The humans who met him at the docking bay wore armor that made them look like metal monsters. They carried guns that could probably destroy his entire delegation with one shot. But they were polite, showing him the way to the bridge without threatening him. Admiral Chen was smaller than Veltar had expected. She looked like she could be someone's grandmother. If grandmothers wore military uniforms and had scars on their hands from handling weapons. Ambassador, she said, nodding respectfully. Welcome aboard the Indomitable. I'm sorry about the reception, but we're preparing for battle. Around them, human officers worked at stations covered in screens and controls. They talked in quick, efficient voices about things that made Veltar's crystal structure ring with worry. Torpedo tubes 1 through 20 loaded and ready. Marine assault teams standing by for boarding operations. Kinetic bombardment systems online and tracking targets. What does all that mean? Veltar asked quietly. Admiral Chen looked at him with something that might have been sympathy. It means we're ready to kill things. Ambassador. A lot of things. Very quickly. She led him to a viewing screen that showed the approaching harvester swarm. There were hundreds of machine ships, each one the size of a small moon. They moved in perfect formation, eating space dust and asteroids as they traveled. Impressive, said a human officer, but not as impressive as they think. How can you be so calm? Veltar asked. These machines destroyed 17 worlds. Their weapons can tear apart anything. So can ours, Admiral Chen replied. The difference is, we've been practicing. She called up tactical displays that showed the human fleet spreading out through the system. The ships moved like a school of metal fish, each one knowing exactly where to go without being told. Here's how this is going to work, the Admiral explained. We'll hit them with long-range kinetic strikes first. Big metal poles moving at high speed. Then missile salvos to break up their formations. Then we close in with energy weapons and boarding parties. Veltar tried to understand what he was hearing. Boarding parties? You mean humans will go inside the machine ships? Oh yes, said Marine Commander Rodriguez, who had joined them on the bridge. My boys are very excited about that part. We've been practicing how to fight robots in close quarters. The commander was a large human who looked like he could break machine ships apart with his bare hands. He wore armor covered in weapon attachments and had a smile that made Veltar very nervous. But the machines learn from every attack, Veltar protested. They adapt to whatever weapons you use against them. Then we'll just have to use more weapons than they can adapt to, Admiral Chen said simply. We brought quite a variety. The tactical officer called out from his station. Ma'am, enemy contact in 6 hours. They're moving in standard formation, just like the intelligence reports said. Standard formation, Commander Rodriguez laughed. They're going to regret that. Veltar looked around the bridge at all the human faces. They were not afraid. They were not worried. If anything, they looked eager to begin fighting. These beings had turned war into an art form. How many of your people will die? He asked quietly. Admiral Chen considered the question seriously. Hopefully none. We planned this operation to minimize casualties. But if some of us do die, Ambassador, we'll die making sure the machines can't hurt your people ever again. Why? Veltar had to ask. Why are you willing to die for strangers? Your people could have stayed safe on Earth. The Admiral looked at him with those hard human eyes. Because someone has to stand up to monsters, Ambassador. And because your people asked for help, Where we come from, that means something. Okay, okay, okay. Outside the viewing windows, the human fleet continued to spread out in patterns that made no sense to the crystal being. But somehow, Veltar began to feel something he had not felt in weeks. Hope. These humans were killers, yes. But they were killers who had come to kill the things that wanted to kill his people. For the first time since the machines had appeared, Veltar thought his children might live to see tomorrow. The battle began with silence. For 30 seconds, space was perfectly quiet as the harvester swarm moved into the trap the humans had set. Then, Admiral Chen gave one simple order. Fire everything. Veltar watched from the bridge of the Indomitable as humanity showed the galaxy what Deathworlders looked like when they went to war. The first attack came from the kinetic bombardment ships, massive railguns that fired metal poles the size of buildings at nearly the speed of light. The poles hit the harvester formation like the fist of an angry god. Machine ships that had seemed unstoppable simply ceased to exist, turned into expanding clouds of metal and energy. In the first 10 seconds, the humans destroyed 50 enemy vessels. Direct hits across the formation, reported the tactical officer. Enemy ships are trying to adapt their shields. Too bad for them, Admiral Chen replied. Switch to antimatter torpedoes. The second wave of attacks came from every direction at once. Hundreds of human ships fired missiles that moved like angry wasps through space. When they hit the machine ships, they did not just explode, they deleted chunks of reality, leaving perfect spheres of nothingness where matter used to be. Veltar's crystal body rang with terror and amazement. How do you make weapons that destroy existence itself? Very carefully, said Commander Rodriguez with a grin. And with lots of safety equipment. The machines tried to fight back, but they had never faced anything like this. Their adaptive weapons were designed to learn from enemy attacks and counter them. But the humans were not using just one type of weapon. They were using dozens of different systems all at the same time. Particle beam batteries, fire at will. Admiral Chen ordered. Fighter squadrons, begin attack runs. All ships with plasma cannons, target the big ones. The human fleet moved like a single living thing. Ships that had been spread across the system suddenly appeared next to machine vessels, firing at point-blank range before jumping away again. Small fighter craft swarmed over the larger enemies like angry insects, cutting them apart with laser weapons. And through it all, the humans talked in calm, professional voices about the systematic destruction they were causing. Tango 7 is down. Good kill, Johnson. I need fire support on grid 445. Got a big one trying to run. Copy that. Orbital bombardment incoming in 3, 2, 1. Another machine ship vanished in a ball of white fire that made Veltar's viewing screen go dark for several seconds. This is impossible, he whispered. The machines were invincible. They ate 17 worlds. They ate 17 worlds full of people who had never seen war, Admiral Chen corrected. We're from a world where everything tries to kill everything else. This is just Tuesday for us. The tactical display showed the battle spreading across the entire star system. Human ships were everywhere, hitting the machines from angles that should have been impossible. Some of the warships were actually using the system's planets as shields, hiding behind worlds and shooting around them. How are your ships moving like that? Veltar asked. They appear and disappear like ghosts. Jump drives, explained the tactical officer. We can move anywhere in the system in a few seconds. The machines can't predict where we'll be next. But jump drives take enormous amounts of energy. That's why we built bigger reactors, Admiral Chen said simply. More energy means more options in a fight. On the screen, Veltar watched human marines boarding a damaged machine ship. They cut through the hull with tools that melted metal like butter, then fought their way inside with weapons that fired small suns. The machines tried to stop them, but the humans were too fast, too aggressive, and too used to fighting in impossible situations. Marine Team Alpha, what's your status? Commander Rodriguez called out. "Having a blast, sir," came the reply over the radio. "These robots don't know how to fight in cramped spaces. We're almost at their central computer." "Copy that. Try to leave some pieces for the tech boys to study." "No promises, sir." They started shooting first. The boarding action was over in minutes. The humans had not just captured the machine ship. They had completely destroyed its ability to function, then planted explosives to make sure it could never be rebuilt. "That's how you deal with self-replicating enemies," Rodriguez explained to Veltar. "Don't just break them. Make sure they can't fix themselves." The battle continued for 3 hours. But after the first 30 minutes, it was not really a battle anymore. It was an extermination. The humans hunted down every single machine ship in the system with the patience of born predators. Some of the machines tried to run. Human pursuit ships chased them down and destroyed them in deep space. Others tried to hide behind asteroids. Human sensors found them anyway. A few attempted to self-destruct rather than be captured. The humans shot them before they could finish the process. "Final tally," the tactical officer announced. 847 enemy vessels destroyed. 0 enemy vessels escaped. Human casualties. 3 minor injuries from a docking accident. Admiral Chen nodded as if this was exactly what she had expected. "Good work, everyone. Begin search and rescue operations for any Zephyrian survivors in the outer system." Veltar stared at the tactical display. The red dots representing enemy ships had all vanished. In their place were blue dots, showing human ships spreading out to help with rescue operations. "You destroyed them all," he said in wonder. "The unstoppable machines that ate 17 worlds. You destroyed every single one in 3 hours." "Like I said," Admiral Chen replied, "it was Tuesday for us. We've had worse fights with space pirates." The Admiral turned to look at the crystal being with eyes that had seen too many battles. "The real question, Ambassador, is what happens next. These machines came from somewhere. There might be more of them out there." Veltar felt his crystal structure ring with new fear. He had been so focused on the immediate threat that he had not thought about where the harvesters came from. "Will you help us find their source?" he asked. Admiral Chen smiled, and for the first time, it was not a scary expression. "Ambassador, you asked Deathworlders for help. That means you're under our protection now. We'll find where these things came from, and we'll make sure they never threaten anyone again." Outside the windows, the human fleet was already organizing for the next phase of operations. Ships that had just fought the most one-sided battle in galactic history were preparing to hunt down an enemy that might be hiding anywhere in the galaxy. Veltar realized that his people had not just been saved. They had been adopted by the most dangerous species in known space. And somehow, that felt like the safest thing that had ever happened to them. 3 days after the battle, Ambassador Veltar stood in what used to be a harvester machine ship. Human engineers had turned the captured vessel into a mobile laboratory, studying every piece of technology they could find. The sight still amazed the crystal being. "The source signal is coming from here," said Dr. Sarah Kim, pointing to a star chart that showed a region beyond the galactic rim. The machines were getting orders from something in dark space. Admiral Chen studied the data with the same calm expression she had worn during the battle. "How many ships would we need for a deep space operation? For scouting? Maybe 50 ships," Dr. Kim replied. "For full extermination? Probably the entire fleet." Veltar listened to the humans plan the complete destruction of an enemy they had not even seen yet. These Deathworlders did not just win battles. They made sure their enemies could never threaten anyone again. "Admiral," he said carefully, "my people need to discuss payment for your help. The Council has prepared an offer." Admiral Chen looked at him with surprise. "Payment? Ambassador, we haven't talked about payment because we don't want any. But you crossed the galaxy to fight for us. You risked your lives and ships." "We didn't come here for profit," the Admiral interrupted. "We came because people asked for help, and we were able to give it. That's what decent beings do. Veltar felt his crystal structure ring with confusion. In his experience, no one did anything without expecting something in return. But your government, your military leaders, they must want compensation for this operation. End quote. Commander Rodriguez, who had been checking reports from the Marine teams, looked up from his tablet. Ambassador, let me explain something about human culture. When someone calls for help, you help them. You don't ask what's in it for you. You don't negotiate payment. You just help. But the cost of moving this fleet is something we can afford? Admiral Chen said firmly. Earth has been preparing for galactic threats for 200 years. We built this military to protect people, not just humans, but anyone who needs protection. Dr. Kim brought up another display showing the search and rescue operations still happening throughout the Zephyrian system. We've found 300,000 of your people in escape pods and damaged ships. Our medical teams are treating them now. The humans had not just destroyed the Harvester fleet. They had spent the last 3 days searching every asteroid field and debris cloud for survivors. Their medical ships had saved thousands of Zephyrians who would have died in the wreckage of their worlds. Why? Veltar asked again. It was the question that had been haunting him since the humans arrived. Why do you care about strangers? Admiral Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than usual. Ambassador, my species came from a world that tried to kill us every single day. We learned to be tough because we had to be tough. But we also learned something else. We learned to value life because we almost lost ours so many times. She gestured to the viewing screen that showed human ships helping to rebuild Zephyrian stations. Every person who is alive today is alive because their ancestors survived thousands of years of disasters, diseases, and wars. Life is precious because it's so hard to keep. When we see people being threatened by something they can't fight, Commander Rodriguez added, we remember what it was like when we were the ones who couldn't fight back. Before we had ships and weapons, humans were just scared animals hiding from things that wanted to eat us. Veltar began to understand. The humans were not just warriors. They were survivors who remembered what it felt like to be helpless. They fought so hard for others because they knew what it was like to need someone to fight for them. There is something we can offer you, he said slowly. Not as payment, but as a gift between friends. Admiral Chen raised an eyebrow. What kind of gift? Knowledge, Veltar replied. My people have been peaceful for millions of years. We never learned to fight, but we learned many other things. We know how to grow food in space, how to make crystal cities that sing with starlight, how to heal worlds that have been damaged by war. He paused, thinking of all the human ships he had seen. They were magnificent weapons, but they were built only for destruction. Your ships are very good at breaking things. Perhaps we can teach you how to build things too. Dr. Kim looked interested. Crystal-growing technology could revolutionize our construction industry, and self-sustaining space gardens would help our long-range exploration missions. That sounds fair, Admiral Chen agreed. Knowledge shared between friends, not payment for services rendered. The next few hours were spent setting up cultural exchange programs. Young humans would come to study with Zephyrian artists and builders. Crystal aliens would travel to Earth to learn about human engineering and survival techniques. But the most important part of the agreement was the Defense Pact. The Zephyrian coalition would join the growing alliance of peaceful races under human protection. In exchange, they would provide support bases and resources for human military operations. You realize what this means? Admiral Chen told Veltar as they signed the agreements. Earth is going to be responsible for protecting a lot of innocent people across the galaxy. That's a big responsibility. Are you worried about it? Veltar asked. The Admiral smiled. Ambassador, we're Deathworlders. Taking care of people who can't take care of themselves is what we're best at. As the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, Veltar sent one final message to the galactic database. The entry for Sol 3 had called humans dangerous killers to be avoided at all costs. He deleted that entry and wrote a new one. Species: human. Classification: Deathworlder. Threat level: absolute to enemies, 0 to friends. Recommendation: if you are in trouble and need help, call Earth. If you are making trouble for innocent people, run very fast and hope they don't catch you. He added one more note. Warning to all hostile species. Humans have adopted the galaxy. We are all under their protection now. They came for us when we called, and they will come for anyone else who needs them. They are the nightmare that nightmares have nightmares about. And they are on our side. The human ships jumped to hyperspace, carrying their deadly cargo back to Earth. But they left behind something more valuable than any weapon. The knowledge that somewhere in the galaxy, there were people who would cross any distance and fight any enemy to protect those who could not protect themselves. Veltar watched until the last human ship disappeared into hyperspace. Then he turned to help his people rebuild their worlds. They had work to do, and they had new friends to help them do it. The age of human protection had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.